Continuing from the previous events, Lin Dong showcased his prowess as a heavenly talisman master in front of Li Pan from the demonic rock dynasty, leaving everyone in astonishment. The entire venue fell silent. Li Pan, seated on the stone chair, wore an expression that was terrifyingly dark. Lin Dong's sudden advancement to a heavenly talisman master was clearly beyond his expectations. The situation was slipping out of his control. He was well aware that if Lin Dong had indeed ascended to the rank of a heavenly talisman master, he now possessed the capability to confront him head-on. Furthermore, with the addition of the spirit puppet in Lin Dong's possession, a puppet comparable to a Nirvana Stage expert, this lineup was enough to make Li Pan's heart race with unease. So that's why you dared to show yourself. You had something to rely on, Li Pan remarked slowly, his voice cold and composed despite the shock he felt. He fixed his gaze on Lin Dong with a chilling stare. Around him were several strong members of the demonic rock dynasty, including two quasi-Nirvana experts whose strength was nearly on par with Lu Yuan and his peers. Along with other half-step Nirvana experts, they formed an impressively powerful lineup. It seemed that even if Lin Dong had achieved the rank of a heavenly talisman master and wielded the power of the spirit puppet, it wouldn't be enough to shake them. Sensing the threat posed by Lin Dong, the sound of rushing wind suddenly echoed around the plaza. Moments later, several figures clad in black appeared, their eyes cold and vigilant as they fixed on Lin Dong. The sight of such a formidable lineup made one's heart pound with fear. The demonic rock dynasty truly lived up to its reputation as a prominent force among the high-ranking dynasties. Mo Tai and the others, who had initially been shocked by the display of Lin Dong's powerful spiritual energy, now came back to their senses, their expressions subtly shifting as they observed the unfolding scene. Lin Dong, if you know what's good for you, hand over the ancient key willingly. If you do, the grudges between us and the demonic rock dynasty can be wiped clean, Li Pan declared as he rose, his gaze shadowed and fixed on Lin Dong. I understand you've now reached the rank of a heavenly talisman master, but I must inform you, this poses no threat whatsoever to the demonic rock dynasty. There are plenty of Nirvana experts among the dynasties we've already eliminated. His words, though less dismissive than before, carried a much heavier tone of threat. The message was clear. Lin Dong should not assume that attaining the rank of a heavenly talisman master made him qualified to challenge the demonic rock dynasty. They had eliminated Nirvana experts before. Disposing of him would not be much trouble. Whether you choose to befriend the demonic rock dynasty or become its enemy is entirely up to you, Li Pan stated calmly. It was undeniable that his words carried immense pressure. After all, the demonic rock dynasty was immensely powerful, and no one would want to offend them lightly. Moreover, recent rumors suggested that they had outrightly destroyed an entire high-ranking dynasty, further solidifying their fearsome reputation. Even Nirvana experts were wary of crossing them, and this was precisely why Li Pan and his ilk could act so tyrannically in Yang City without anyone daring to voice their opposition. A single Nirvana expert might not scare them, but the formidable demonic rock dynasty behind them certainly did. As Li Pan's words fell, a hush descended over the crowd. Countless eyes instinctively turned towards Lin Dong, wondering whether this newly ascended heavenly talisman master would maintain his defiant stance when faced with such a colossal force as the demonic rock dynasty. Under the weight of those many gazes, Lin Dong stared back at Li Pan. Then he suddenly smiled. Seeing this, Li Pan mistakenly thought Lin Dong was about to capitulate, causing a slight, mocking smirk to curve on his lips. But just as that smirk began to form, Lin Dong raised his hand, pointing beyond Yang City, and commanded, "Take your people and get out of Yang City." The smirk froze mid-curve, replaced by a slow, creeping rage that spread across Li Pan's face. His expression shifted from green to red, and he snarled, "So, you've got quite the backbone. But if you refuse to take the way out I've offered, you have no one to blame but yourself for missing your last chance." As Li Pan's chilling words gradually fell, an overwhelming surge of primordial energy erupted from his body like a tidal wave, pressing down on everyone around. leaving them struggling to catch their breath. Li Pan's face contorted in rage and fury, clearly enraged by Lin Dong's defiance. In his view, even if Lin Dong had truly reached the rank of a heavenly talisman master, he still wasn't qualified to speak to him in such a manner. Myriad Beast Fist. With a low, explosive roar, Li Pan's figure suddenly shot forward like an arrow. As his fist punched out, the air shattered with a deafening boom, and an overwhelming surge of primordial energy swept forth, condensing into various forms of beasts. These beasts roared and charged towards Lin Dong with a momentum that was nothing short of astonishing. Each beast, formed from primordial energy, carried a terrifying power capable of obliterating a half-step Nirvana Stage expert. The sheer number of these beasts converging together even made Lu Yuan, a quasi-Nirvana expert, turn visibly serious. Lin Dong remained completely still, watching Li Pan's aggressive assault. A hint of excitement flickered in his eyes. He didn't immediately summon his blood spirit puppet. Instead, he wanted to personally test the extent of his spiritual power after becoming a heavenly talisman master. Inside the Naiwan Palace, the miniature world he had formed began to stir, as if a fierce wind was taking shape within. Boom! The sky above the plaza suddenly darkened as fierce winds picked up. Everyone could feel a formidable spiritual force filling the heavens and earth, powerful enough to stir the heart. Break! A sharp light flashed in Lin Dong's eyes as he made a grabbing motion. A whirlwind formed in his palm, transforming into a massive wind palm that he then swung fiercely at the oncoming primordial energy beasts. Bang! 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 A series of muffled explosions echoed as the massive wind palm swept through, causing all the primordial energy beasts to explode. Even the ground beneath them cracked under the force of the sweeping whirlwind. Gasp! Witnessing Lin Dong's effortless display of power, everyone present couldn't help but gasp in shock. Was this the power of a heavenly talisman master? To transform spiritual energy into a wind palm with such overwhelming force was indeed formidable. The eruption of primordial energy forced Li Pan to stagger back several steps. His face turned a shade of iron blue. He hadn't expected Lin Dong's spiritual power to be this potent. When Li Pan had initially ascended to the Nirvana Stage, he did so with a stroke of luck and the aid of a Nirvana pill, one that barely numbered 100,000 in potency. Without having successfully weathered the Nirvana tribulation, he was considered relatively weak among the Nirvana Stage experts. Yet, he believed that even so, there would be no issue in confronting Lin Dong, who had just ascended to the rank of a heavenly talisman master. However, this scene made him realize he had underestimated Lin Dong. I refuse to believe that a mere novice heavenly talisman master like you could wield spiritual power to any significant level. Li Pan snarled, his voice sharp. With a swift motion, he gripped his hand, and a gleaming, sharp longsword appeared in his grasp. His figure blurred into a series of afterimages, and sword auras swept towards Lin Dong like relentless waves. However, Li Pan was unaware that when Lin Dong had advanced to the Heavenly Talisman Master rank, he had also gained some experiential knowledge from the remnants of a powerful expert within the ancient key space. Therefore, Lin Dong's ability to manipulate and control spiritual power would far exceed Li Pan's expectations. Perfect, you'll make a fine whetstone. Faced with Li Pan's sudden, sharp assault, the fervor in Lin Dong's eyes only intensified. He moved, seemingly walking on the wind, his figure ethereal and elusive. At that moment, the heavens and earth began to stir with violent winds, roaring thunder, and flashes of lightning. When Lin Dong obtained the memories and experiences of that powerful expert, he also gained some valuable techniques for wielding spiritual power. He was eager to see just how formidable his spiritual force could be when fully unleashed. Boom! Thunder flickered across the sky, and everyone watched with terror-filled eyes. Clearly, this strange phenomenon was triggered by Lin Dong's spiritual power, which permeated the world around them. Boom! A massive bolt of lightning crashed down from the sky like a pillar of light. Simultaneously, a fierce whirlwind took shape. Under the immense spiritual power, the wind and lightning merged together. Wind and thunder palm. Suspended amidst the lightning and wind, Lin Dong suddenly thrust his palm out. Immediately, the raging lightning and wind began to twist rapidly. Then, under countless shocked gazes, they condensed into a gigantic light palm. This light palm was not formed from primordial energy, but was purely condensed from lightning and wind. Of course, it was also wrapped in powerful spiritual energy. This was a method of activation entirely different from primordial energy. Boom! As the wind and thunder palm took shape, Lin Dong's gaze suddenly turned icy. Without any hesitation, he slammed his palm downward, aiming directly at Li Pan below. Boom! Before the wind and thunder palm even reached the ground, a massive crater had already formed on the plaza's surface. Then, that brilliant light palm, carrying the force of a storm and thunder, slammed down toward Li Pan, whose eyes now reflected a mix of shock and disbelief. The radiant light palm illuminated the entire plaza, with thunderclaps and howling winds roaring from within. The scene left everyone's face marked with awe. The spiritual power of a heavenly talisman master had reached such an astonishing level. Whoosh! Under the impending wind and thunder palm, Li Pan's expression grew incredibly grave. Sensing the terrifying power contained within it, he dared not be careless. He clenched his fists tightly, and brilliant golden light suddenly erupted from within him. His entire body seemed to transform into a statue of flowing gold. This was the Nirvana Golden Body, a hallmark of Nirvana Stage experts. In the face of Lin Dong's overwhelmingly powerful attack, Li Pan had been forced to fully activate his Nirvana Golden Body. Golden light shimmered, and without a moment's hesitation, Li Pan concentrated terrifying primordial energy onto his fists. Then, he struck out with a punch. There was nothing flashy about this punch, but the force behind it was enough to severely injure a quasi-Nirvana expert like Lu Yuan. Boom! Under countless fixated gazes, the golden fist collided directly with a massive wind and thunder palm. Instantly, a piercing, thunderous sound erupted across the plaza. Bang! Alongside the deafening noise, a violent ripple of energy spread out in all directions. Waves of visible shockwaves rolled forth, reducing the hard stone plaza into countless tiny fragments. Cracks spread across the ground like lightning. Dust and debris scattered across the plaza's center. The onlookers hurriedly retreated, knowing full well that anyone caught in such a blast, even a half-step Nirvana expert, would likely face certain death. Boom! The dust cloud spread, and before the crowd could see the outcome, a battered figure was blasted out from within, stumbling backward. Each step they took left the ground crumbling to dust beneath their feet. Everyone's eyes immediately focused on that disheveled figure, and they all involuntarily gasped in shock. The battered person was none other than Li Pan of the demonic rock dynasty. This revelation triggered a wave of astonished murmurs among the crowd. Amidst the uproar, Li Pan's face was a mix of iron blue and a hint of dread. Lin Dong's overpowering palm strike had forced him back, even after he had activated his Nirvana Golden Body. At the moment their fist and palm clashed, he could feel the violent wind and thunder energy infiltrating every part of his body, causing intense pain within him. This guy has only just ascended to the rank of a heavenly talisman master. How could his spiritual power be this strong? Li Pan's face contorted with a mix of shock and disbelief. It was clear that the previous exchange had stirred up a storm of emotions within him. It seems your Nirvana stage isn't as solid as it appears. Just as Li Pan's expression was changing rapidly, the surrounding dust suddenly dissipated, revealing Lin Dong's figure once again. Now he stood high above, looking down at Li Pan. From the earlier exchange, Lin Dong had realized that although Li Pan was a Nirvana stage expert, he was far inferior to figures like Chun Mu or Mu Hongling, whom Lin Dong had encountered before. It seemed Li Pan had achieved his Nirvana stage with a good deal of luck. Hearing Lin Dong's words, Li Pan's already grim expression darkened further. He gritted his teeth and snarled, "Don't get too complacent. Having offended the demonic rock dynasty, you'll never have a peaceful day ahead." Boom! However, just as Li Pan's cold shout echoed, the sky rumbled once more with thunder. Lin Dong, with a cold smile on his lips, had already condensed another ferocious wind and thunder palm, which he mercilessly sent crashing toward Li Pan again. Seeing Lin Dong's fierce assault, Li Pan hastily mobilized his primordial energy once more. Thunder rumbled continuously throughout the field. However, in the face of Lin Dong's relentless attacks, Li Pan found himself being steadily forced back. This sight caused the faces of the strong members of the demonic rock dynasty to change dramatically. They had never expected Li Pan to appear so wretched. Outside the plaza, MultiSubs and the others, who had retreated, were equally shocked as they watched the scene unfold. A Nirvana Stage expert, someone who could control their life and death with a mere flip of a hand, seemed so powerless in front of Lin Dong. Bang! A muffled sound echoed through the plaza as Li Pan was once again pushed back by Lin Dong's massive wind and thunder palm. This time, however, he clearly sustained some injuries. As he struggled to stabilize himself, a mouthful of blood spurted out. Within the bright red blood, one could see flickers of lightning, evidence that Li Pan's body had been heavily infiltrated by the wind and thunder energy. Wiping away the blood from the corner of his mouth, Li Pan's face twisted in a mixture of rage and pain. He stared fiercely up at Lin Dong, who looked down at him from above. The anger in his heart finally buried his reason. He immediately roared, "Form the array!" From their direct clash, he had realized that he was no longer a match for Lin Dong. A one-on-one fight was now out of the question. Yes, the strong members of the demonic rock dynasty had already been shaken by this intense battle, but they were not an ordinary faction. Quickly regaining their composure, they shouted in unison and began to retreat, preparing to form a formation to jointly deal with Lin Dong. Humph! In midair, Lin Dong coldly snorted at this sight. There were quite a few strong members of the demonic rock dynasty here, and each was formidable. If they were allowed to form a battle array, it could indeed present a significant obstacle to him. This was a scenario he naturally wanted to avoid. Whoosh! So, without hesitation, Lin Dong's sleeve flicked, and a fiery red figure darted out like lightning. In a flash, it charged into the midst of the demonic rock dynasty's experts. With a flurry of fiery and icy cold palm strikes, anyone caught in its path spat blood and was sent flying. It looked like a wolf among a flock of sheep. Be careful, that's a spirit puppet. Seeing the formation rapidly crumbling, Li Pan's expression changed dramatically. He was just about to move to intercept when the ground in front of him suddenly cracked open. Sharp earthen spikes, wrapped in fierce spiritual energy, shot up like venomous snakes, attacking him viciously. Spiritual power didn't have the same overwhelming force as primordial energy, but it had its own peculiar ways. With just a wave of a hand, it could command the forces of heaven and earth. This kind of ability was a significant headache for Li Pan, who dared not ignore it and was forced to dodge awkwardly. While Li Pan was forced into a sorry state, the strong members of the demonic rock dynasty were suffering heavy casualties under the onslaught of the blood spirit puppet. Only the two quasi-Nirvana experts managed to barely hold back the puppet's killing spree, but judging by their pale faces, it was clear they couldn't last much longer. The demonic rock dynasty forces stationed in Yang City were being driven into such a pitiful state by Lin Dong alone, aided only by a single blood spirit puppet. This sight left many in the crowd secretly astonished. Seeing Li Pan repeatedly forced back by Lin Dong, he clearly noticed the dire situation. Rage welled up in his throat, bringing with it a metallic taste, but he quickly swallowed it down. Leveraging his momentum to retreat, he shouted with a dark expression, "Lin Dong, today, I admit you've won. But don't get too cocky. Your three friends might have escaped quickly, but senior brother Chenmu has already gone after them. When they fall into our hands, you'll have to come begging on your knees. Retreat!" With that shout, Li Pan made a swift decision. With a low shout, he immediately turned and fled toward the outskirts of Yang City. However, As he turned to flee, he failed to notice the icy killing intent that suddenly surged in Lin Dong's eyes as his words echoed in the air. So, the demonic rock dynasty thinks I'm an easy target, one they can pinch whenever they want? In that case, it's time to make them see things clearly. Lin Dong's figure flickered, appearing directly above Li Pan. His hands moved, and a vast spiritual force swept out like a storm. Instantly, the sky's cloud layers churned, and thunder rumbled fiercely. Great heavenly thunder sound. Lin Dong's eyes reflected countless dancing lightning serpents. With a change in his hand seal, the thunderclouds in the sky seemed to form a giant mouth. Then, a terrifying sonic wave descended, instantly enveloping Li Pan. Although Li Pan immediately activated his Nirvana golden body, he still underestimated the destructive power of the great heavenly thunder sound. The sonic waves penetrated every part of his body, and he could hear a continuous, muffled explosion within him. A mouthful of thick blood sprayed out immediately. Such a lethal attack finally brought a look of terror to Li Pan's eyes. It was only now that he began to panic. From their earlier exchanges, he had sensed that Lin Dong wasn't intent on killing him, probably because Lin Dong was wary of the demonic rock dynasty. However, the moment he uttered those words, he realized he had utterly enraged Lin Dong. Lin Dong, if you dare to kill me, the demonic rock dynasty will make you pay 1,000-fold. Li Pan forced himself to turn, his face pale as he stared up at Lin Dong in the sky, shouting fiercely. Lin Dong's gaze was icy. He hadn't initially intended to kill Li Pan, given that the demonic rock dynasty was indeed a troublesome opponent. But now it seemed that even if he were to step back, the demonic rock dynasty wouldn't relent. Since there was no way to avoid conflict, he could only strike decisively. Let's see what the demonic rock dynasty can do to me after I kill you. Lin Dong's eyes were cold and sinister. With a single step forward, he suddenly conjured a spear formed from immense spiritual power. With a swift motion of his arm, he hurled it fiercely at Li Pan. Outside the plaza, countless people gasped, staring in shock at Lin Dong, whose face was filled with murderous intent. They clearly hadn't expected him to dare to kill a Nirvana Stage expert from the demonic rock dynasty. As the spiritual spear, accompanied by a sonic boom, hurtled through the air toward him, Li Pan's pupils contracted. A golden light burst out from his body once more. With a low roar, his golden palms shot out, grabbing the spiritual spear tightly. Sizz! Sparks flew as the spear ground against his palms. Pain shot through Li Pan's hands, but with all his might, he managed to stop the sharp spearhead just half an inch away from his chest. Seeing that he had managed to catch Lin Dong's lethal attack, Li Pan let out a sigh of relief. Yet his eyes flickered with intense hatred. Once he left Yang City, he vowed to rally his forces and hunt Lin Dong down like a dog. Whoosh! Just as this thought crossed Li Pan's mind, a flash of red light suddenly appeared before him. A fiery red figure emerged and delivered a powerful punch, striking the tail end of the spiritual spear. A terrifying force erupted, causing the spear to slip out of Li Pan's grasp with a swift sound. In his shocked gaze, the spear plunged violently into his body, piercing through his chest and out his back. At that moment, the entire plaza seemed to fall into a deathly silence. The eyes of the onlookers were wide with horror, staring at the spiritual spear that had pierced through Li Pan's chest. They then looked at the bright red blood gushing from the gaping wound. For a moment, everyone's minds were in utter chaos. Lin Dong had actually killed Li Pan. This shocking news reverberated in their hearts, causing some to feel weak at the knees. Li Pan was no ordinary person. He was a Nirvana Stage expert from the demonic rock dynasty. The demonic rock dynasty was known for its arrogance and ruthlessness. Even some of the high-ranking dynasties were wary of provoking them. But now, Lin Dong had brazenly killed Li Pan without any hesitation. Everyone present knew that once this news spread, it would cause an enormous uproar. Given the demonic rock dynasty's style, there was no way they would let Lin Dong go. Having completely offended the demonic rock dynasty, Lin Dong's future days in the ancient battlefield would surely be extremely bleak. There was no doubt about this. Although Lin Dong had displayed strength comparable to that of a Nirvana Stage expert and wielded a spirit puppet, these alone were clearly not enough to withstand the full wrath of the demonic rock dynasty. This guy truly had guts. Amidst the heavy silence, Lin Dong's expression remained indifferent as he looked down at Li Pan. The light in Li Pan's eyes slowly dimmed as his life force swiftly faded away. Under the combined assault of Lin Dong and the spirit puppet, Li Pan had suffered a truly fatal blow. When the spiritual spear had pierced his body, the violent force within had shattered all his meridians, cutting off even his last threads of life. Blood continued to flow from Li Pan's mouth. His dying eyes, filled with intense malice, glared at Lin Dong. Then, a twisted, sinister smile appeared on his face. Seeing this smile, Lin Dong's eyes narrowed slightly. However, before he could retreat, Li Pan's body began to swell grotesquely. In an instant, with a loud bang, it exploded into a mist of blood. From within the blood mist, a streak of crimson light shot out, diving directly into Lin Dong's body. Lin Dong, you can't escape. From now on, you'll be hunted by the demonic rock dynasty like a stray dog. Ha! Amid the blood mist, Li Pan's sinister laughter echoed across the sky, lingering for a long time before gradually fading away. Lin Dong's eyes darkened slightly as his spiritual power swiftly scanned through his body. Eventually, he discovered an extremely tiny red mark in one spot within him. This is a rather unique tracking method. It seems the people of the demonic rock dynasty can use it to track you. Little Mink's voice echoed in his mind. Can it be removed? Lin Dong asked. It's a bit troublesome. This guy used a life to leave this mark. It's not easy to dispel. It seems it will take some time, Little Mink replied thoughtfully. Lin Dong frowned slightly, but soon relaxed again. Looking up at the silent surroundings, he saw that everyone was staring at him blankly. In their eyes, there was shock and a hint of sympathy. The strong members of the demonic rock dynasty, seeing Li Pan killed, lost the courage to stay. They scattered like birds and beasts, fleeing in all directions. Lin Dong didn't bother to stop them. These people weren't much of a threat to him. As for the news of him killing Li Pan, there was no way to keep it secret. In just a short time, the people of the demonic rock dynasty had all fled. The rulers of this city had been utterly destroyed by Lin Dong alone. Lin Dong was indifferent to the gazes around him. With a wave of his hand, he retrieved a storage pouch from the ground, Li Pan's possession. The collection of a Nirvana Stage expert was unlikely to be weak, and Lin Dong, who was currently lacking resources, wasn't about to let it go. Brother Lin Dong, you killed Li Pan, Mo Tai, and the others finally came back to their senses. As they looked at Lin Dong approaching, they stuttered. To them, this was indeed a bit too shocking. It wasn't just because Li Pan was from the demonic rock dynasty. Regardless, he was a genuine Nirvana Stage expert. At this level, he represented strength and status in their eyes. But now, this so-called powerful figure had been swiftly dealt with by Lin Dong, right under their noses. If it weren't for the lingering scent of blood in the air and the mess all around, as well as the fleeing demonic rock dynasty experts, anyone might have thought this was just an illusion. Since the grudge has already been formed, there's no need to worry whether it's a big or small one. Even if I had let Li Pan leave today, the demonic rock dynasty still wouldn't spare me. In that case, it's best to pull out one of their fangs first. Lin Dong smiled faintly, his tone calm, as if he hadn't just killed a Nirvana Stage expert, but merely an insignificant beast. Mo Tai, now more composed, nodded slightly. Lin Dong had obtained the ancient key, and that alone was enough for the demonic rock dynasty to never let him off easily. Given this, there was no reason to show mercy. What do you plan to do next? Mo Tai asked hesitantly. Lin Dong had stirred up such a big mess, and he couldn't help but feel a bit worried. The ancient battlefield is vast. There's no shortage of places to go. The demonic rock dynasty is strong, but they aren't so powerful that they can control everything. Lin Dong chuckled and said to Mo Tai, you should leave Yang City soon as well. but I might not go with you." Seeing Lin Dong smile, MultiSubs fell silent. He knew that from now on, Lin Dong would likely face relentless pursuit by the demonic rock dynasty. The days ahead would surely not be easy. Though they were concerned, MultiSubs and the others understood that staying with Lin Dong wouldn't help. Instead, they might become a burden. In such a situation, parting ways would be safer for both sides. "Brother Lin Dong, words cannot express my gratitude. If there's a chance in the future, I will repay you for saving us today." MultiSubs cupped his fists heavily toward Lin Dong. Without further delay, he waved his hand and led Tang Xian and the others away from Yang City. The people around, watching MultiSubs and the others leave, sighed. Yang City was supposed to be a decent place to stay, but the events that had just transpired forced MultiSubs and his group to leave. Lu Yuan and Ling Ji exchanged a glance, and both let out a silent sigh. Then, they turned their gazes toward Lin Dong. The latter responded with a slight smile. His carefree demeanor showed no signs of anxiety about offending the demonic rock dynasty. This composure made them somewhat envious. If Lin Dong could somehow resolve the trouble with the demonic rock dynasty, he would likely gain significant fame across the entire ancient battlefield. Who knows? He might even catch the eye of those super sects in the future. If that happened, he would truly be like a carp leaping over the dragon's gate, achieving great success. "Let's go. We should leave Yang City too. This place is rife with trouble. There's no point in staying any longer," Lu Yuan said to Ling Ji. After giving Lin Dong a respectful cup-fist salute from a distance, they turned and left with their group. Lin Dong stood in the plaza, watching the people gradually disperse. He smiled faintly, then raised his head, his gaze as sharp as a blade fixed on the northern sky. "Demonic rock dynasty. Others might not dare to provoke you, but I, Lin Dong, will see just how arrogant you can be." Shortly after MultiSubs and his group left Yang City, Lin Dong also set off. However, his direction was the opposite of theirs. Many watched as his figure disappeared over the distant horizon, sighing softly. No one knew if this young man, who had left a shocking mark on Yang City, would be able to survive the coming wrath of the demonic rock dynasty. This was a vast mountain range. On one of its green peaks, several shadows suddenly appeared. Leading them was none other than Chen Mu, who had previously clashed with Lin Dong in Thunder Rock Valley. "Senior brother Chen Mu, those three are really slippery. It's been days, and we haven't even seen their shadows," one of the figures behind Chen Mu said. Chen Mu frowned. The ancient key was now in Lin Dong's hands, and he had disappeared as well. To truly flush him out, they would have to capture his three companions from the same dynasty. However, their search over the past days had yielded poor results. Mo Ling and his two companions had escaped quickly, and despite the demonic rock dynasty's extensive reach, they still hadn't been able to track them down. Just as Chen Mu was frowning, a mirror from his storage pouch suddenly flew out and hovered before him, emitting a bright light that transformed into a projection. The appearance of this projection caused even someone like Chen Mu to twitch slightly. The others behind him quickly bowed in respect. "Chen Mu, Li Pan has been killed." A calm voice emanated from the projection. Upon hearing this, Chen Mu's pupils instantly contracted. He seemed to realize something and coldly asked, "Was it that Lin Dong?" "Yes." The projection nodded and continued in an indifferent tone. "No one has ever dared to kill a member of the demonic rock dynasty, let alone a Nirvana Stage expert. Forget about those three brats. Before he died, Li Pan left a blood imprint on that kid. You can sense it using a secret method. I want you to go and bring back the ancient key and that boy's head. That boy has now reached the rank of a heavenly talisman master and has some skills. To prevent any unforeseen situations, Lei Shi will accompany you." Hearing this name, the corner of Chen Mu's mouth twitched slightly. A sinister gleam appeared in his eyes. "Lin Dong, you truly are audacious." He could hardly wait to see the look of fear and helplessness on Lin Dong's face when they finally confronted him.